And we're coming to you live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app, good Friday morning. A feel-good summer Friday in July. It doesn't get much better than this. Well, it would be better if we didn't have thunderstorms all day. But Saturday and Sunday look awesome. And that's what we want. We've got Jerry in for Boomer again today, as Boomer has gotten his flowers yesterday. He made sure he was here for the announcement of the Bengals Ring of Honor and then took off for a couple days in a row. But he has earned it, this man. He has absolutely earned it. So, yeah, boy.
Oh, boy.
So Jerry's here again. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
I'm good. I felt left out yesterday. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact, even though we got a nice picture at the end.
Very nice picture.
You know, Fleegs and CeeLo and everything, and not to diminish their role in our world, but it didn't feel the same without you and Al around. But it's the summertime, and that's what happens, and no one's at fault for taking their vacation days, especially this time of year. But yeah, it felt, you guys were missed. You know?
I felt, again, left out because I was off. It's just the way it went. But I'm very happy for him, though, and good for Boomer. It's about time.
Yes, it is about time. But by the way, speaking of that, did you see the Matt Martin tweet yesterday?
I did not.
So a lot of people were throwing stuff out there as Boomer and Chad Johnson were inducted into the Bengals Ring of Honor this year. So Matt Martin quote tweeted the Bengals tweet making the announcement.
Yeah.
And he said, "A long time coming, but glad to see you finally get the recognition you deserve. I love going back and watching your highlights. One of the best to ever do it. Congrats, Chad."
Now that's funny.
That's great.
That is very funny. I didn't know where you were going with that. I'm like, this sounds nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Matt Martin with one from downtown. So did you go to the Mets game last night?
Wednesday night.
You went Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw
good game.
I mean yesterday afternoon. So you went Wednesday night because you were off yesterday.
Correct.
So you saw a win.
Saw a win. So I got to tell you, too, the season is what it is, and I get that. And I'm usually of the belief that most humans are not very pleasant.
Right.
I got to tell you, from start to finish Wednesday night, we could not have had a better time. Number one, go figure, no traffic getting there.
Wow.
I don't mean around the stadium. I mean from my house to there, we always budget 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Got there in an hour and 18 minutes,
nice.
Which with literally, if I'm the only car on the road, it'd be an hour 9. So that's pretty good. And then the experience at the stadium was, sometimes guys can be a little ornery when people can't figure out the whole phone ticket thing. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So I saw one person, an older lady, was trying to get in with her phone. She couldn't find it. He took the time. He's helping her. I'm like, very nice. That we won. Guy couldn't have been nicer. Maybe because they're having a bad season, they're being nice. I don't know. The guy, when we got to the seats, couldn't have been more pleasant. Blah. Everything was fantastic. They played well, and then I got home in an hour and 10 minutes.
That's great.
It was outstanding.
And you saw a win. What an experience.
And they played well.
You know, it's funny. You were like, I believe most people are what? What word did you use?
I don't remember what I just said.
Well, probably trash.
No, I didn't say
whatever.
that. No, just not very pleasant, I said.
Yeah, but it's funny because that reminds me of that because I just saw him in concert. The Luke Bryan song. He's like, I believe most people are good.
Most people probably are. It's the select few that ruin it for everybody.
And most mothers would qualify for sainthood. That's the song. We should do a Jerry version of that. I believe most people are trash.
No.
And most women are completely friggin' nuts.
No, don't put words in my mouth. Knock it off now. Come on. Stop.
And then once you're dead, you're worm food.
Well.
So all right. Well, I'm glad you had a good day.
It really was. It was a great time.
And yes, we did miss you yesterday, but that's okay because you're back and we get to talk sports and have a feel good Friday today. And yes, the Yankees didn't play last night, but you have all the stuff that we've been talking about with them still circling. Now, I've been of you got to make wholesale changes with this team after the last couple of years. I've kept saying it and saying it and saying it. Now's the time. You got to change the general manager. Brian Cashman didn't have a contract. No better time to do it than at the end of next year, end of last year, rather, as opposed to giving him the extension they did. Aaron Boone, whatever. As long as Cashman's there, probably Aaron Boone's going to be there unless there's a sacrificial lamb. But if they don't make the playoffs or they squeak in and they get knocked out, I'm telling you what's going to happen. I just know it. Because you've heard all the excuses from Hal Steinbrenner, from Brian Cashman, from Aaron Boone. They're going to say, we missed our best player for 3/4 of the season, and we know we're not as bad as we were last year record-wise. The division was really good. We caught some bad breaks, and we're going to bring this team back, and we're going to try to do it again. And, of course, as we hear these reports that they want to get under the luxury tax, I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money in the offseason. And what really can they do? Think about it. Giancarlo Stanton, locked in. They're not going to be able to get rid of him.
Unless you pay some of the money.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. We know that. They hang on to these guys for way too long. The fact that they were able to jettison Josh Donaldson and throw him on the 60-day IL because he had an injury was like a miracle. All right, DJ LeMahieu just got a contract a couple of years ago. He's got another 2 years at $15 million after this year on that contract. With the way he's playing and his injury history the last couple of years, you think that anybody's going to want him?
Not unless you pay a lot of the money.
Right. You think the Yankees are going to do that?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Back in the day, yes. Right now, don't know.
Probably not. So then, all right, you just signed Anthony Rizzo to a contract extension. So you've got him next year for another $17 million. Then there's a club option after that. But there's no way that they're getting rid of Anthony Rizzo at the end of the year, regardless of how bad he is, because they got him under contract for the next year. Aaron Judge loves him, and they're going to say, this is an anomaly year for him. He's going to come back. He's doing great. He's a great clubhouse guy. Okay, so those are the guys that are making big money that aren't performing that have to stay here.
But those are your problems.
I know. And that's the problem, even bigger and multiplied, is the fact that the Yankees aren't going to get rid of him. Because they can't.
But why can't I use your theory on trying to get rid of a player like Lindor? Because you made the
Because
mention.
Steve Cohen has given you the precedent for him doing that where the Yankees have not.
What I'm saying to you is using the theory of, and I'm just talking out loud here.
Yeah.
You mentioned a guy like Stanton. So what is it, 4 years left after this year, correct? Does that sound right? 4 years left, roughly $110 million, whatever. It's still a lot of money for 4 more years. Maybe it's 5, but I think it's 4 after this year. And I think you're checking it now. You're going to...
Yeah, you're right.
It's 4, right? At how much per year? 28?
32, 29, 25, then a club option for 25.
All right, so 64, roughly $110 million, basically. You couldn't look at that to say, I'm going to pay 40% of it and say you're saving the other 60 or using it differently. I'm just trying to go on the method that you have with Lindor.
I know, but right, you're right.
You're saving money and getting rid of a problem.
That is what I would do. However, the Yankees have been the exact opposite of that. They have hung on to guys for way too long, and they've shown an unwillingness to part with players that, you know what they do is they hide guys. That's what they've done in the past. Like Jacoby Ellsbury, they hit him. I mean, they hit him. But that's what they do. But in Giancarlo Stanton, they're not going to be able to hide. And he's got a full no-trade clause, by the way. So he would have to figure out a place where he would want to go. And then the Yankees are going to pay somebody for him, as Boomer loves to say, pay a guy to not play. Now, that's basically how the Yankees look at it, where Steve Cohen looks at it like, all right, Robinson Cano absolutely sucks. I'll pay the money to get him the hell out of here. And I do think that he is willing to, with problems, pay some of the salary to get a guy away to fix the team in the short term. The Yankees, first of all, they're completely delusional about who they are. Now, I know we played the we suck right now, we stink right now, like those things, but really when it comes down to it, they are delusional. Hal Steinbrenner, delusional. Brian Cashman, delusional about who they are and where they are. So I really don't believe that they look at these guys as problems as much as we do.
Well, I think a lot of cases you will always hear, well, you can't change the team and get rid of the players. You got to change. In this case, this is what they have to do. I don't think it's a matter of a luxury. I don't think it's a matter of not spending. They have to change the look of this team. I do agree the season would be slightly different if Aaron Judge was healthy. I do believe that. I don't think that they would, they would score more runs. He changes the lineup. That having been said, they ain't challenging the Orioles. I mean, they're not that good with Judge there, but they are better than what they've been. I don't think you can argue that the last, 4 series, 5 series is what they are if they are healthy. But they're also not a World Series team if they're healthy. And if that's the idea, you got to get rid of this old aging talent. Josh Donaldson, I think we agree, is done. Stanton's got to be moved. However you do it, you've got to move Giancarlo Stanton. Rizzo's there next year. That's fine. He'll play a good first base. His offense stinks, but it is what it is. I don't know what you do with DJ LeMahieu, but if you want to change the Yankees, you have to change the Yankees.
Yeah, but this is what we've said over the last couple of years when it comes to really changing them and, changing Brian Cashman and getting rid of guys like Gary Sanchez 2 years early as opposed to 2 years late. I mean, they hang, like Severino is another perfect example. They're just waiting for him to have the year and the performances that they have envisioned because they signed him to that contract that bought out those arbitration years. Aaron Hicks is another example of that. Hung on to him a year too long. I mean, even Joey Gallo, who was here for a cup of coffee, should have been here for half a cup of coffee because they hung on to him too long and brought him back after that half season, and he was totally miserable.
But can't you make the case what they did with Severino and Hicks, and it did not work out in either case, at least not with Severino so far, and Hicks is now gone, and they finally righted that wrong. But can't you make the case that what they were trying to do with those players is what the Braves have done and what the Rays have done with their young? Yes. It just hasn't worked out for them.
Right. But the problem is that they keep giving them chances and chances because they've got them on these affordable, team-friendly contracts.
Yep.
Where that's the issue. So you're right. It was the smart thing to do at the time, and we thought we probably lauded it at the time. I could imagine that we did, but because they got them on those contracts, just like Gleyber Torres should not be on this team next year, but he's got another year of arbitration, and coming off another mediocre year, he's not going to get that much money in arbitration. So that's what the Yankees look at. Gleyber Torres had an unbelievable 2019. We got him on his last year of arbitration. Whatever he's making this year, probably be a little bit more than that. And what if he has a great year and we're paying him $8 million? That's the way they look at it. I mean, the fact that the one story that's coming out of the Yankees trade deadline when Shohei Ohtani is apparently available from the Angels, is that Hal wants to get under the luxury tax because he's $1 million over the last threshold.
But what happened?
Tells you exactly what you need to know about where they're at.
This is why you can't believe everything you read. Last week, the story was the Yankees are motivated to go get Ohtani. This week, it's they want to get under the cap. So which is it?
It's definitely the latter because they've got too many guys that are getting paid already, and they're not going to add somebody else. They got Aaron Judge on his contract. The only way they could do it is if they ship out Giancarlo Stanton. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the only way they could add another guy because they're not going to add Shohei Ohtani to this current salary structure that they have. So really what's going to happen is they're going to be the same team. Aaron Boone's going to be the manager. Brian Cashman's going to be the general manager. Stanton's going to be here. LeMahieu's going to be here. Rizzo's going to be here. And you just hope if Rodon's going to be here. Obviously, you want Garrett Cole to be here, and he will. But the bones of this team will remain because I don't see a way out unless they completely do a 180 with their philosophy.
And I hope they do, because to me, unless your name is Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, I'll even say Harrison Bader, who I enjoy on a day-to-day basis and has been, at times, the heartbeat of this team.
Well, his contract is up at the end of the year.
But I'm saying, going forward, aside from those three, anybody else that's not on this team next year, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I mean, you want to tell me Domingo Germán threw a perfect game. Great. What has he done since?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have so many issues on this team. Even a kid like Volpe, I get you want to hold on to Volpe. He's a young kid, all good there. If that's going to be your shortstop or second baseman in the future, fine. I can buy that too. But for the most part, there's no one else that's untouchable on this team, in my mind, right now at the trade deadline, or for what they're going to look like next year, whether you're re-signing them, trading them, making acquisitions, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I really hope it doesn't happen, but we're seeing a resurgence with both the Jets and the Giants after many, many years of them being in the top 10 of the draft, the top 5 of the draft, 2 of the worst teams in football. I mean, you could make a case that if things don't get changed quickly with the Mets and the Yankees, that they could be, even with all the resources that they have, that they could be missing the playoffs for several years in a row. I could make that case.
I don't think the Mets will, from the standpoint of he is going to spend money, and there are many years that the Yankees would basically spend their way into, they make them a World Series team, but would spend their way into the postseason and be relevant. If you are going to start nickel and diming things to where you've got to be under the luxury tax, and I don't believe you have to spend money to win. We've seen a lot of teams that have low payrolls that do win. The Rays are the first one, although they can't get out of their own way right now. But I don't think that the Mets will be that on a consistent basis. I find it hard to believe that the Yankees would be too, but if this is the way they're going to do business, then why not?
Yeah, I just if Billy Epler is continuing to be the general manager and they don't bring in David Stearns and there isn't a different philosophy with Steve Cohen, then to me the money doesn't even matter because they've given it to the wrong guys. And I think if David Stearns comes in, he's not going to be the guy that's going to spend like crazy. He doesn't had that history really, but I guess it's tough to not when you've got the resource of the richest owner in the game. But I spend into the playoffs. They have the highest payroll in the history of baseball. And they're like, 18 games out of first place in the division?
Oh, they're far out. They are far out.
I mean, and then
you got so many guys watching too, though.
Right. But
watching Jeff McNeil, how does that make sense? How do you go from a batting champion like DJ LeMahieu, who's fallen off, but he's older? Isn't he older at least?
Yeah, he's 35.
McNeil is just he's a nothing.
Yeah, well, or did they overperform last year? I mean, that's really the question. Are they underperforming this year, or did they overperform last year?
I suppose I will give him a little credit. The guy can play anywhere.
Yeah.
But in terms of the offense, there's been nothing there this year.
Yeah, batting title. Remember Boomer was celebrating the batting title last year?
Yeah.
It's like, this is a great moment for the Mets and Jeff McNeil. Like, no, it's not. What are you, nuts?
It is for Jeff McNeil. That's about it.
That's it. Jeff McNeil, his wife, maybe his dad, who sat there watching Little League games, his mom. But other than that, no, nobody cared, especially with the way that it ended in the playoffs.
Right.